everyone, it's Christian from Triple C Merriman Games. So I've got a heck of an issue for you today. On today's comic book issue of the day, we're going over Volume 2 of Dennis the Menace. Right here, Volume 2, Dennis the Menace, number 1. This book came out in 1981. I have a newsstand copy. You'll see Mr. Wilson right here getting squirted by the water hose. And you'll see Dennis right here trying to help, like Dennis does. This was actually a really good book. This book currently is going for about $10 in a decent copy. It was pretty funny. When I read this book, I really felt like I was reading newspapers from back in the day. And it made me think, like, man, why don't we have these types of comics anymore in newspapers? Granted, I know newspapers are kind of like a dying breed these days, but you know something? It just brings back a lot of memories, for sure. Like that, I think the Calvin and Hobbes days, those types of things, right? The Garfield days. So the artwork inside this book is really, really good. It definitely makes you feel like a Charlie Brown type of style. And the comic, I guess the comedic aspect is pretty good. There's nothing over the top. There's nothing egregious about it. It's just fun, loving, Dennis the Menace, okay? The original Dennis the Menace came out in 1954, and some of those first Volume 1 books are pretty expensive nowadays. I didn't realize it, but, being first appearances of certain characters, it makes a lot of sense. But this series here, there's 13 issues in the Volume 2, and there are a couple variants, but most of the variants are all going to be either Canadian edition or they're going to be newsstand to direct edition, okay? As I said earlier, I do have the newsstand edition by the barcode in here, but just look at this here. Sometimes what it fools you, you'll see here it says first collector's item edition. They put these on a lot of these little stamps on a lot of the volumes, like 2, 3, and so on, because they thought, okay, Volume 1 was such a big hit, why don't we put it out on issue 1 of the next volume? And so you'll see a lot of those from the 80s into the 90s. It'll have this little stamp on them that says, hey, collector issues, collect this book here. I'm not saying to collect this book. Obviously, I think it's a great book. I really like it. I don't have any more Dennis the Menace book. But by reading this, it actually encourages me to look for the Volume 1 Dennis the Menace books. Like I said, I believe there are, in this series, there's really only one key, and that's this book here. If I go to the original series from 1953-54, there are a couple key issues. There's 167 issues in the original volume of Dennis the Menace. And that first book, Dennis the Menace number 1 from 1953, excuse me, first appeared Dennis the Menace is actually in a high grade, about $1.5 thousand. That's pretty nice. I was actually pretty impressed to see that. Even in a low grade copy, looking at $140 for that book. So not too bad. The rest of the books are relatively inexpensive compared to this price. But I think there's like a few key issues. I would say there's probably 10 to 15 key issues within this series. And so yeah, I really enjoyed this book. There was a part of the comic that made me really laugh, and it was when the days is too hot, and they're complaining about how hot it is out. They need to think cool. They need to excuse me, drink hot tea, I guess, because that's what the Chinese say. What you do to make yourself cool in the winter and in the summertime. Think about being cold. So let's go to Christmas. Let's go skiing and stuff, right? Pretty funny. The one thing I really liked was that there was a cup of tea that was made for Dennis's dad, and Dennis decided, oh, my mom said it was hot, so let's toss some hot sauce in this thing. So he tosses hot sauce in his dad's tea. His dad drinks the tea and blows flames out of his mouth. I couldn't believe it. I was like, you know something? When I was a 10-year-old kid, I'm not saying I would have done that, but I can see how it makes sense to a child that, hey, okay, if drinking hot tea makes it feel cold in the summer, well, we put some hot sauce in that tea, right? So, very comical. Anyways, let me know what you think. Have you ever read a Dennis the Menace book? Do you remember the TV show, the cartoon that I really liked that when I was a kid, or even the movie, okay? Let me know your experience with Dennis the Menace, and I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. Anyways, that's a new book of the day. Christian out. guys.